Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Jack Ryan Season 1, Episode 3. It's called Black 22. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. I was really up and down with this episode.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel. I'm kind of mixed.
I'm really up and down, and a lot of that comes from a new character, Victor, right? We have this scene early on where we're watching this character in Syria that we don't know, with their son, and it seemed like they were teaching their son how to pray, and you get that he's really close with his son, and his grandfather's there as well, and then he leaves to go somewhere, but he has a gun with him, and it's like, okay, right, we're clearly we're getting some dichotomy here between this person who's a good father, but is clearly into some stuff, and then he's like driving, and I knew as soon as he drove off, I was like, okay, something bad's going to happen to him because they just made us care about him a little bit. We saw enough of him being nice that we were going to care if something bad happens to him.
They showed that he's a person.
I did not expect, though, for him to just randomly blow up driving down the road, though. That was unexpected. Now, they gave us context, of course, because we cut to the drone pilots, and it's like, okay, right, it was that's how he died. There was a drone that fired upon him. And we meet Victor, who's the person who fired the drone, and he's given him and his other pilot that are in the room with him. She gives them some money. So clearly, every time one of them gets a kill, they give them, I don't know what the domination was, but $1, $5, $10, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he's in Las Vegas, so he's other side of the planet, and he leaves work for the day. He goes home and he pins up the money next to all these other bills that are all numbered, and this is 107. So this is the 107th person he's killed as a drone pilot. And it's
he's like crying as well when he does this.
Oh yeah,
that first kill.
You can see that it's eating away at him, because much like us, he was watching him, so he was seeing him with his son. So he feels guilty about this. He, as much as obviously he's had orders to do this, this is someone who was wanted for death. He feels conflicted about this. And I was fine with all this up until this point. Maybe a little bit on the nose with him like crying as he's watching his wall, but I like the opening well enough. The scene that I hated with every fibre of my being was the scene where he goes to the casino to use the blood money, as it were, to gamble. And it was just, everything about it just felt so like TV movie, like, daytime TV, like on the nose writing. The fact that he kept betting on red at first because it's blood money, you get it? And okay, then he switches, right? And then eventually he's like, okay, just red. He keeps winning. Okay, just black. And then he bets everything on black 22. So obviously the odds are, more extreme, and he might win a lot. But obviously it's really specific, right? And then it lands in black 22. And every time he wins, he gets more and more upset. Like, he's not being punished for what he does. Like, he wants to like get rid of it. And this works for me in other types of story. Like in The Leftovers, when a similar scene happened, it played up the uncertainty of it, and like the idea that fate might be intervening, and other things. Like if this showed up in like Twin Peaks, if this showed up in a show, but this show is like, under the impression that it's like gritty real, where CIA hunting terrorists, right? This scene felt like a hokey piece of shit to me. I was rolling my eyes so much during this scene.
I was okay at first. Like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, a bit on the nose, but okay, yeah. You bet red twice, then you change to black. That's a standard, technique. And sure, you win. I mean, usually you put half and a bit more, but whatever.
You play it safer.
The point is, he wanted to get rid of it. Yeah,
yeah.
But then he goes specific. I'm like, and then winning on that. That's where it feels a bit too. I'm like, okay, that was the fourth one in a row, and it was that.
Yeah,
it's too much now.
It got worse as it went along. They stopped being believable, right? And it got worse as it went along. And I just like, this just feels so bad. And then, not as bad in the same way, but a really weird scene is this couple kind of starts talking to him.
I thought this scene was far worse.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's worse for the reasons I hated the other scene. It's bad for different reasons.
Okay, I hate this one more.
That's fair. I think I'm too confused by it to hate it. It's bad, but I'm too confused to.
Do you know what? I think that's why I hate it more. Because I don't understand the purpose of it. At least the one in the casino, right? Okay, he's trying to get rid of the money. He's frustrated that he keeps winning. I get it. It's on the nose. It's kind of hokey, but I get it.
So there's this
This
couple.
one is it's
So this
yeah.
couple that he meets at the table, and she kisses him a little bit when he wins the big money, right? And it's kind of, I was like, okay, that's next to your husband. That's kind of weird. But they come back to his place afterwards, and I was like, okay, I guess they're going to rob him because they know he's got 30 grand on him now.
And he puts it down on the table, and it really focuses on that. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, she's going to like sort of seduce him and distract him while he steals it or something. It even focuses on the fact that he locks the door when they come in, like the other guy, the
Yeah, he
husband.
puts the bolt on, and then he goes off to get a drink, and go just kind of slyly, just walks out of frame for a moment, just out of the way, right?
And instead, what actually happens is that she does seduce him and has sex with him right there on the couch in front of her husband, who just kind of sits down and watches. And I'm like, is this some kinky thing they're into? Like, what, what's happening?
Yeah, it's a thing.
No, it can't. Yeah, some people are into this thing. It's out of nowhere in this scene. It just like out of nowhere comes
okay.
up.
I know this is a thing, but what's it adding here? What's the purpose? Where's this going?
And then, so they finish, and she's like, putting her dress back on, and she goes off to like the bathroom, and then the husband kind of talks nice for a bit, and then he takes off his belt, and I thought the same thing he did. I thought, oh no, he wants to like have sex with him, and he's like, oh no, sorry, I'm not, I'm not gay, I'm not into that. And the guy like takes off his belt and just starts hitting him, and then starts punching him with the belt around his. And I'm like, is this still part of like a fetish? Is this what he gets off on, like beating up a guy after he's had sex with his wife? Is this the thing?
Yeah, I don't know, because she comes back, it's like, oh, don't hurt him too much.
Yeah, as if this was like, always going to be what the ending was.
Yeah.
So it's weird. And she was wearing a red dress as well, by the way, just to add on to that. There's the whole red blood money thing.
And Victor's kind of okay, he's like, because he's like, he's getting the punishment that he deserves, kind of, is how he's seeing it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And he's like, just take the money, and the guy won't take it.
Yeah, so I don't want your money.
Well, why did we focus on it so much that it was going to be stolen?
My bigger problem, though, is that the guy says, you earned it. Because I get that the end context of the scene is supposed to mean, oh, you earned it from what we just did to you, but it really felt on the nose, like, oh, you are like he knows he's been killing people.
Yeah, because I hate this scene. I hate everything about it. Like, this makes no sense. It adds nothing. At least in the casino, it's horrible dialogue. It's horribly written. It's cheesy, but I get it. I know what it's doing. I know what it's trying to advance. This adds nothing. Not a thing.
Someone will get some meaning out of it. In the comments, please let us know what you think this scene is trying to do.
It might make me less angry.
What is this scene where he has sex with the woman in the red dress, only for the husband to watch him and then beat him up after? And it's not like
seemingly with approval, because he's like, yeah, hey, he gives him the drinks, like, hey, I said you were going for a good night.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's the thing. He's not angry while he's watching it. He's just kind of like contently observing. And then afterwards, he just very matter of fact starts beating the shit out of him. Not.
Oh, you slept with my wife, right? That's the sort of attitude that it switches to.
But he never says that. He never actually.
No, he doesn't say that, but that's the implication.
Well, kind of. But that's what I'm saying, though. It's not like he's actually angry about it, though. That's the weird thing about it. Yeah. It's just like, no, this is just what they're into. Is you have sex with a guy, I'm going to observe and take that in. And then I'm going to, it's like he's planning on being angry, and then he is angry. It's not so much like because like he tries to, Victor tries to stop her at first, and then kind of gives in a little bit, and then the husband walks in the room, and he tries to apologize and say, no, hey, like I tried to push her away, like stop me, and then he's like, oh, you have to relax, Victor, and he sits down and just watches it. I don't get it.
I'm genuinely angry that this wasn't even a short scene. This was a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long scene. Yeah, I think the problem is that this feels too specific for this to just be a couple of random characters that we don't understand or know.
Yeah.
I think that's my main problem. Like, I think if you want to try and get some meaning out of it for Victor, sure, maybe a push.
Well,
but
I think it's clear what it's supposed to be representing for him. He's getting a reward and then punished, right? It's the same, it's the same as how he feels. He's getting the reward for killing with the money, but he hates himself for it. But I don't get why there is this actual physical representation in these just random people.
What's funny is this episode was 50 minutes. This was a little bit longer than most of the other episodes, and I feel like you could just cut out this scene,
And it would
and
be a much better episode.
you'd save 5 minutes. Because this is the thing: the ending scene comes back to him, and we'll talk about that when we get to the end of the other plot, because it's also related. The two plots, merged together at the end. But the final scene with him, I actually thought was pretty good. Probably the highlight of the
It was.
episode.
And I would have loved, just bookend your episode with that. The one at the start, setting him up, and who he is and what he does, and come back to this at the end. That's all you need.
Yeah, I don't think you need to see in the casino either. I think you don't have to see him go home and pin the money up. All you need is him taking that money from her and looking appropriately upset.
You can still have the tears. Play that there.
Sure, if you want, but even that, I feel like all you have to do is clearly have him look like he's feeling guilty, and that's it. That is all you need.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's it, and then you just come back to him at the end, and finally it becomes like relevant why we even get introduced. Because halfway through the episode when we were having these scenes in the middle, I was like, why are we spending time on this guy? Who is he? What's happening?
Yeah. John, this is a strange episode because there is barely any Jack Ryan in this episode.
Yeah, very little. There's only him and Greer. They track down Ali, and they're kind of looking at the crime scene and stuff. And so I mean, some of this plot's actually quite good with Ali, like because they have the thing where he's with that family who clearly are not involved in like any of his organization or what they're up to, and then eventually he gets the order. He gets to contact Suleiman. We'll talk about how he does that in a minute because I've got things to say on that. But Suleiman's like, oh, no witnesses, and it's obviously saying kill the family. Like you have to, and like this is like an innocent man with these kids, and is like why, and it's sort of left, and I'm like, sure, I respect what you're doing this, but you're trying to make us at least sympathise and understand both sides of both the antagonist as well as the protagonist. I respect that. I think it's a noble idea. I think it's what maybe separates this from just turning into like generic, TV stop the terrorists.
24 or Homeland.
That feels a bit. Have you ever even watched Homeland?
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes.
Okay, I was going to say that feels a bit harsh, but I've not seen it. I don't know if it is like that.
I've seen some. I used to live with a guy who watched it a lot.
I was even thinking 24. Well, 24 is not a terrible example, but I was thinking more like your acronym shows where they have like a terrorist episode.
Sure.
But so the thing that separates it potentially is that you actually develop these characters and see not only the antagonists themselves having some human elements, but have people around them who are truly sympathetic, such as Hanin, as we'll get to in this episode. But so I said to myself in my head at this moment where he gets this choice and he's behind the door with a gun and he's thinking about killing the family and he's clearly hesitant. I was thinking, right, so if you want me to have any sympathy for this character, he can't do this.
He can't do this. Yeah.
If he does this, then he's a super villain. No, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I mean, it sets him up as a pure evil guy.
It's an interesting idea in its own right.
Yeah, but given what you've been doing so far in the show, if you want me to have the sympathy for him that I think you want me to, he can't do this. And sure enough, he doesn't. And when Ryan and Greer come in, the family's there and they question him. But yeah, let's talk about the video game. Let's talk about first of all the fake cases. They had this fake like logo at the top instead of like PlayStation or Xbox. It was like
it reminded
something.
me of the GameCube one.
A little bit. Yeah, it was like a white or light blue GameCube strip at the top with like a made up symbol in the middle for.
Yeah, but GameCube's the closest that came to mind.
What was and so this is what happens. Ali uses the in-game chat to message Suleiman, right, who's obviously still in Syria, and just gives him some the briefest of the briefest, like what's going on, and they communicate. And the game looks like this just cheap, generic knockoff. They just grabbed something from somewhere, right, some cheap thing, and I don't know, like. Everything about this played to me like when I really cringe when video games are brought up in TV shows, especially later on when Jack Ryan actually says the line to I think it's when they're back at the French police headquarters or whatever, and he says, "Hey, we all saw what that conversation in the video game," Like he really emphasized in the video game at the end of it, and it just felt like this feels like people who wrote this don't know video games at all.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at the start because it felt intentionally like, or at least to me, it felt intentional. Here's an obscure game that no one's going to notice us using, right? That's what it felt like to me. Like, here's an obscure game that no one's even going to notice some chats on this.
Okay, it's a stretch, but okay.
Well, no, I feel like, they might think, okay, your popular games, your big ones, maybe they monitor those because they expect us to, they expect that. But hey,
oh no, you're
talking on everything.
You're talking about this as if it's like a planned thing. I got the impression here he just picked that because it was there in the pile, and on the other end they've got some way of like picking up if someone's trying to contact them through this type of thing.
Okay, fair enough. I was more under the impression. I mean,
because when the guy gets the message back at the headquarters, he's just it comes up as like a ping and like a line of code. It's not like he's got the game sitting open and it's
no. But I assume they still have to have set up an account on this game to get that message. So what I assume is okay. They've set up accounts on a bunch of obscure games. He's gone right. Okay. This one.
Well, if that's the case, then though, what's the chances of this family having this piece of shit random game?
It's a fair point.
I felt like
too obscure.
Yeah, so I don't think the point is obscure. I think it's only obscure to us because it looks like a cheap piece of shit that no one would play. I think
I think I clearly tried to justify it in my head.
I think in universe it's just supposed to be a game that someone like maybe they do have a set list of games that they have accounts for, and he was looking through them to get one, but by that nature, it has to be a game that people would have.
Yeah. But I mean, it's weird that they address this when the kids who are playing it later are clearly like, this game's a piece of shit.
Well, to be fair, they just say they don't like this game, and then Jack says, you don't like this game? Who is playing this game? I mean, that's kind of the point of the scene, is that he's like, wait a minute, you two weren't playing it. And someone was. Who was playing it?
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know. That felt like really forced, like... Not quite. I mean, it's exposition, but just the whole conceit of them using the game and then finding the game purely because he left it turned on. He left the house without turning the console off.
It's not exposition. It's plot convenience.
Sure.
Exposition is teaching us information. This isn't that. This isn't something we.
No.
Need to know.
I understand what exposition is, but them sitting explaining that they wouldn't play the game feels kind of exposition to me.
Oh, okay, that's fair. But more to me, it just feels like plot convenience of, oh, hey, yeah, well, we need a reason, so this'll do.
The point is it's contrived, right? It feels contrived, and then on top of that, if you're someone who actually plays video games or understands video games, this just feels really, really phony and fake. The entire thing feels fake.
Maybe France has shit games like everything else.
That's not true. The PS4 is like a super seller in Japan, or not Japan, France.
Yeah, Japan's better than France, clearly.
Sure. There's a lot of anti-French things that come from Connor. You just have to get used to that. It's a thing.
It's said from a place of hate.
So yeah, so that annoyed me. So the big things was the stupid gambling scene, and then the following weird sex scene, and then the video game parts were kind of like, no, these suck.
So, but before we move on to the final thread,
well, I just want to say that this results in them tracking Ali because they know what car he's in. So that's setting up plot for next episode where they're going to be chasing him to the border.
Yeah. So before we move on to the plot, I feel frustrated by this episode that this was all we got from Jack Ryan's side of things.
Oh, that doesn't bother me.
I think it was too early. We're only 3 episodes in. I think it's too early to make that diversion.
You think it's too early to make an episode that's not focused on Jack Ryan?
To this extent, I think you could have still had all the Haneen stuff. I think that stuff still, that is, legitimately good and works. I think a lot of the time that we spent with Victor, we could have spent doing a bit more with Jack Ryan because he's not that fleshed out a character yet. No's Greer. We're only a couple episodes in. I think we need to be spending more time with them early on in the show.
I mean, I get what you're saying, like a larger sense, but at the same time, I wouldn't add anything. I would just take the Victor scenes in the middle out. I wouldn't replace them with anything.
Okay, fair enough. See, for me, like there's the moment where he agrees like, hey, so you had your weapon, you followed this guy, you had your gun out, ready to shoot, and you didn't. And he's just like, yeah, blah blah, civilians. I feel like
to be fair, that's a pretty good excuse.
No, it is, yeah. But we went over this last episode.
Not having a clean shot is a good reason not to fire your goddamn gun, alright? Just for the record.
Greer wasn't having any of it. He's calling him on his shit.
Sure, I think more interesting was the what's her name, Sandrine, the French police officer, who says, "Oh, you pretend you're a sheep, but you're actually a wolf. Like you're trying to suppress the fact that you're a badass, basically."
Exactly, and I feel like just play with a little bit more of their relationship. This stuff that's going on this episode, because I feel like I didn't get enough this episode of them specifically.
I see. It doesn't bother me. Like I feel like it's shifting the focus. I think episode 2 would have been too soon. I feel like 3 or 4 is fine though. I think it reminds me of a lot of shows like old shift for episode 4. 3's not a big difference, right?
Fair enough. Maybe it is because I feel like it's for me at least it's quite a difference between 3 and 4.
And I think Hanine's stuff was so good, right? Especially the ending when it converged with Victor's stuff. And that was when his stuff became really good again, and which is why I was so conflicted at the end of the episode, because I was like, I hate the middle stuff with him so much, but the start and the end, they're solid, solid stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, I feel like it did a lot to flesh out, because I got really worried at one point, because they have her like get the passports, right, and I was like, ooh, I was like, this is exciting, and then they had like the really obvious beat where okay, the guy sees it, and then Suleiman like finds them and like sort of brings them out in front of her, in front of the kids, and burns them.
I love that scene because he starts. Oh, did I ever tell you a story of how I met your mother? And she looks terrified. She's like, no, don't tell this story. We don't need to do this.
Oh, no, that was good, but I did have like a concern during this scene, because I felt like it was building up to him revealing that he knew about the passports, and I didn't want that, because I was worried that meant that the attempt wasn't going to happen. Because to me, when I found out because even we saw that she was obviously having some concerns the last couple of episodes, but we didn't know until this episode she was so far gone and that she was willing to run from her husband and take her kids, and that was genuinely exciting to me and interesting that she was going to attempt this, and this being like an extra sort of wrinkle for Suleiman while he's trying to build up whatever he's doing. I was really excited. So when he found the passport, I was like, oh god, don't tell me you're killing that plot idea, because I really like that idea. But sure enough, she wakes him up in the middle of the night and says, no, we're going, right, let's go. And do you know what, I was like smack the kid. See the son who goes and rats them out, I was like, oh, smack him. Do it.
Yeah.
But so she gets the daughters and they grab a car and they go, and they get to the little town, and he sends the guy who helped her and the dude who was making eyes at the daughter, sends those two after them. So we know that one of them is secretly on her side, and the other guy's kind of a creep, and they're coming after them. And we get to the town, and at this point we start intercutting with the drone pilots, and they're like, oh, what's going on here? This is weird. There's a car like it's clearly not of the area, searching for something, and then they see them like grabbing at them. So hey, like they're going to like rape those girls or something. Can we do something about this? And yeah.
Puts him through the scanner. When he pops his head out the car window.
Yeah.
Like, right, okay, who is this guy? And it's like, okay, well, we've got him on the records. It's surveillance only, though.
Yeah. And so we can't do anything, and we see that he's going to try and help them, and they're running, and you get really worried. And this, do you know what I liked about this? This was an action scene, but it was a very different kind of action scene from the last 2 episodes. It was very exciting in a different kind of way. And exciting is not even the right word. It's exciting in a bad way. So it's like, yeah, it's nerve-wracking, because you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Especially when the creep flat out just grabs her. And because they say in the drone room, oh, it looks like he's going to rape this woman. And I was like, is that his intention here? But sure enough, it was. I was like, no, he's just going for it.
Yeah, because at first I thought they were just assuming that because they didn't know who this was.
Yeah,
but really, he was just grabbing her to bring back, right?
Which is part of what I liked about this scene, is that their reaction to this was that they were trying to interpret what was happening just from the visuals of the bird's eye view. And I liked that they weren't getting it right. I kind of liked that. It wasn't like they were just magically like guessing the correct things. It was like, oh.
Yeah, but then it ended up being like, well, that happened on top of what we actually know.
Yeah, he was going to do that anyway, and then the fight. And obviously the whole point of the opening with Victor is that he wants to do something good, and he sees this woman being attacked, and he wants to do something. So even when he's told from his superior that they don't have the order. They don't have the clearance to take this action.
Yeah, he has he has an order not to do it.
Yeah, he does it anyway. He has this moment where Haneen managed to kick him and run, gets enough of a distance where he's like, I've got a clear shot. Wait, I can fire on him and it won't kill her. And he takes the shot. And I'm like, this is a really good moment. This is a fantastic moment. And the opening scene set up his motivation for why he's going to do this. And I love his the other drone pilot, his friend who's sitting there, and the little smirk she gives him, knowing that he's probably in deep shit and trouble, but she's glad he did it. Like I like, there's just enough.
She gives him the dollar. I'm just going to assume it's a dollar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you earned that one, and it's like, this is the first one he doesn't feel guilty about earning. Like his conscience is clear, and then of course it turns out that the high up the chain is like, no, it's fine. Like well, we can live with it, because he's ready to like, oh, you just disobeyed an order. You're getting arrested, and we're going to
He's like, lucky day.
Yeah.
I do feel like though, this was actually sullied by the stuff in the middle with Victor, right? If this had just been the start and the end, it would have been even more effective. Probably,
but to its credit, it was still very effective on its.
It was still very effective.
Yeah,
but it would have been even better.
But it was really good. It was a really good ending to the episode, and we end with Haneen and the daughters driving off. They're going to the border, and they're going to get out, and it's like, oh, I assume that they're going to end up meeting Jack potentially, and in Co, and give some information and whatnot. I assume it's not going to be that easy. There's probably going to be more obstacles before we get to that point, but
yeah, because I mean, at best, they're going into Turkey. He's in France at the minute, so how do we get from those two places? How do we conjoin from there?
I feel like he'll be even back in the US before he even meets them. To be honest,
possibly.
Yeah. And I'm not just saying that because the thumbnail for the next episode is he's at a dinner table as if he's on a date. And I don't think that's happening in France.
Well, I didn't see that.
So I'm pretty sure him and Kathy are having a date next episode, but it's just
fine.
What do you want?
Not fun.
I can't help it.
Just don't peek ahead.
I wasn't peeking. Amazon gives you it in a row. You can see the next two at all times.
Just don't look.
It's annoying. I hate Amazon Prime's
its UI is horrendous.
It's awful. Yeah, I hate it so much.
It is the worst thing about it.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's actually probably the best streaming quality there is. Like compared to all the big streaming services, it's got the best video and audio quality. The bit rates are higher, audio's higher bit rate. Yeah,
I've had the odd thing that has been horrific quality for whatever reason.
That may just be the source though, rather than the actual.
It probably is, but they don't state that it, whatever it is, and it's a source where I've seen other versions that this is a source that's good.
Yeah, it's just the ones they got the rights for, I guess. But I mean, their streaming quality is up to par, up to snuff. It's so as long as the source isn't good, and all their original stuff's always going to be.
Oh yeah.
Peak. So. But hey, because they've started doing 4K now as well. Actually, they've got their originals in 4K. So, but hey, yeah.
Conflicting episode, easily the worst. Even though the Haneen stuff is very.
Do you know the fact is, I think it's the worst episode, but I think it might have 2 or 3 of the best moments.
Yeah, that might be true.
I think in terms of being emotionally invested in what's happening, that last 10 minutes might be the most I've been into this show. It may be the most I've cared about what's going on, where I'm invested in what's happening. But as a whole episode, there's so many problems overall that I can't just say, oh, it's the best one yet, because that stupid gambling scene, that stupid video game as well, like just, it's upsetting. It's upsetting. So, but yeah, so I mean, clearly, I'm
hopeful for the next one.
Yeah, I think at least doing the good elements of this at least makes me go, okay, even if there's going to be more blunders like the ones we also have in this episode, there's the potential there for them to nail really good moments like that. And if they can achieve that on a regular basis, if they can find their feet and even do it more often, then we're maybe in good hands.
It's just about trying to find that consistency.
Yeah. But like I say, it might be overall the weakest, but I think it has the biggest, the highest peaks, if you will, of the show so far. So
that's fair. I think I agree with that. But I still kind of, it's still dead. If I'm ranking the episodes, this is still stone dead last, even though it has the best moments. It's frustrating.
That's frustrating. Oh well, that's Jack Ryan episode 3. We'll be back in a couple of days with episode 4. I think Friday actually is when the next one's scheduled to be recorded, so look for it then. But that is us. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Oh, actually, before we go, there's one big thing we forgot to mention last episode. That was Greer's wife. He converted religion for her.
Oh yeah.
And we found out his wife was Muslim, and he has contacts. So because even in this one, he's in France. He's kind of going around, and it's like he can approach, in the mosque and stuff. He can approach them a little bit better because he's more part of.
He knows what he's doing. He's comfortable.
Yeah. I think that's worth mentioning. I think it adds a little bit of a dynamic to his character that.
Yeah, if I recall, it's been a few days now. He's not practicing anymore, though.
Yes. He converted for her, so now it feels like, what's the point? Now that I'm split up. But he has a little moment where he prays for the bomber. He kneels over and says a little prayer. So but I think it was worth mentioning. That's a pretty big facet to his character.
It was, yeah.
But yeah, so that's us. So guys, on patreon.com/MaileFuzzTV, you can support us over there, keep the reviews coming. We appreciate it loads if you consider going over there and having a look. Otherwise, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates, like, subscribe, all that stuff, all of it helps. But that's us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?